Hey, welcome everybody to I believe it's like the third episode of the Lombardi League weekly show. We've got a special guest in later, but first we'll jump right into the rivalry games of the week. We had Corey played Miller, and what do I got here? Miller had three players with over 20 points scored, which is quite impressive. Calvin Ridley getting him nearly 30. That's very, very good. That's very clutch. 125 is pretty modest. Corey's team, he was right behind him. He did happen to bench Aaron Rodgers, and sorry to tell you, Corey, Aaron Rodgers had the second highest point total out of any player at any position of the week one. So he would have blown Miller out with that extra pointage. Let's go to the second rivalry game. We had Eights and Ferg, and this one is looking like a blowout. For Dylan, he had some pretty consistent guys. He had a good chunk of people in double figures. He had, I think, 6 10-point scores. Matt Ryan led him with 27.7. Justin had 2 people go off this week. He had 2 30-point scores, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams. He had the highest point total in the week as well. Even on his bench, he had some some solid points. All right, the week 1 report. So this one would be relevant to everybody here. Best manager, Brian set the perfect lineup. Congrats, Brian. That's hard to do. Corey, those 30 points right here. The worst manager. 80% ain't bad. I won't call you the worst manager of the week. We'll get it. We'll get to that later. But yeah, that would have won you the week. Just that one switch. Bino. Speaking of the worst team. Bino beat Patrick by almost more than what his entire team scored. Yep, 4.3%. A little over 5 points for that. High score Justin, lowest score Patrick, and yeah, that's you can only go up from here, buddy. Put it that way. Eight's overachieved quite a bit, 27%, 162. If you can manage to get anywhere above 130 every week, that's solid. 162 is amazing. Patrick got about 56% of what he was supposed to. Bino had the QB of the week and Russell Wilson. Eights had the wide receiver and the running back of the week, as you can see. Mark Andrews, Bino, Ferg had the kicker of the week. All right, the bench warmers. Here's your guy, Corey. 34.76. Let's go back to the score. Russell Wilson, 31.48. So he scored more than Russell Wilson on your bench. Dobbins for me, 14.2. I have Swift and Dobbins on my bench, and it's tough for me to play him over Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, but now Le'Veon's on IR, so I got some wiggle room. Now I just have to pick between them. 25 from Jamison Crowder. I'm pretty sure West won this week. He didn't really need it. And then Duff had 12.5 on his bench for his kicker. All right, let's go to the other matchups of the week. All right. KGSPN3 versus the George Washington Phoenixans. That was a 16-point win for myself. I had 3 20-point scorers. Kamara, Mahomes, and DeAndre Hopkins had a huge week. I was pretty excited about that. Had 14 catches, and I believe that was a career high in the first game for a new team. So I was quite excited about that. Spencer's team, he had 3 10-point scores, and Allen Kelsey and Kenyon Drake. But he really had some guys underperform as well. His kicker only got him 2.5. Scary Terry. Mark Ingram was a huge disappointment this week. Saquon didn't find the end zone. So Josh Allen really kept Spencer afloat. Bino versus Patrick. We'll get into the deep dive here. Just looking at this makes me laugh. But yeah, Bino had, she had 6 players. No, excuse me, I'm reading the wrong stats. Yeah. Patrick had 6 players score less than 10 points. And given a kicker to get 10 points is quite hard, but man, that's not a good week. He had 3 players on his bench with double figures. And he had 1, 2, 3 that he started with double figures. But yeah, huge week from Russell Wilson. Darius Slayton had 2 TDs on Monday night. That was a fun game to watch. Yeah, her kicker Lutz was one of the higher scoring kickers of the week. So yeah, Bino's been hit with the injury bug though. She got Cortland Sutton and Kenny Galladay. We'll see if Galladay will play this coming week. I haven't heard much about him. Wansky versus the Deadskins. West had a huge week. Mostert almost 30. Zeke Elliott over 25. Julio Jones over 20. Juju over 20. Goddard over 20. Wes had a ridiculous week. He even had Crowder on the bench with 20. Wes had 5 20-point scorers. Wansky had 2 20-point scorers. They were the guys you're expecting them to be. It's McCaffrey and Lamar Jackson. Yeah, we'll see how Taylor does now that Marlon Mack's on IR. Allen Robinson is the stardom for NFL.com fantasy. He's the number 1. Allen Robinson is this coming week. Kittle got hurt midway through the game. So yeah, Wansky's looking for a bounce back. Let's get into the week 2 matchups that we do have. We do have 3 rivalry games in week 2, including myself and Wes. So we'll start here. So yeah, I'm projected about 7-ish more points. So we'll see. The Cowboys are playing the Atlanta Falcons, and that's a really good matchup for offenses normally. Julio Jones on the other side as well. A lot of points are going to be scored for Wes's team in that Atlanta-Dallas game. And yeah, I'm looking. I got Tyler Higbee in my lineup right now. I might start Jonnu Smith against Jacksonville. I'm debating. And like I said earlier, Le'Veon Bell's on IR. We do have 2 IR spots. If they get COVID, if they actually have a legitimate injury, we got that going on. Hopkins against Washington. Hopkins is going to get his just by seeing that he got 14 catches in the first game of the season. There's no way this dude's not going to eat all year long. Nyheim Hines was my pickup for the week. He scored 2 touchdowns week 1, and with Marlon Mack being hurt, I figured if this dude scored 2 touchdowns in the first game, he's got to keep producing. And obviously, you know what Mahomes and Kamara are going to bring you. So Valdez-Scantling against Detroit, I think that's a sneaky pick because Detroit has a plethora of injuries in their secondary. I think they have 3 corners hurt with hamstring injuries, including Jeff Okudah was our first-round pick. He hasn't even seen the field yet in a real game. But yeah, this guy might torch us tomorrow or on Sunday. I'm not looking forward to it. All right, let's go Corey against Justin. Rodgers against Detroit once again. Our corners are hurt. That's not going to be a good matchup. Aaron Jones could score 2 touchdowns. Jacobs on Monday night. I like that. It says it's a bad matchup, and New Orleans run defense is pretty stout, but a guy like Jacobs, I think he's going to get his. He does have Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper. I think his wide receivers are going to really keep him afloat. Thielen against Indy. Thielen had a pretty good week 1. Let's start with Devontae Adams, though, because Devontae Adams had the highest point total in all wide receivers. 14 of 17 targets for 156 and 2 touchdowns. And I'm glad I have him in other leagues. I can just say that dude is playing out of his mind. A.J. Brown is questionable. I just saw on ESPN that he might not even play, so keep that in mind. Corey, keep your options open. Yeah, on the bench you got Keenan Allen. He's fine. He has no issue with that. And Debo on IR. Bino against Spencer. This is another rivalry game. So keep in mind, every time I talk about these rivalry games, whoever wins these matchups gets that extra ball in the bingo wheel. So you have the better odds of getting the first pick overall. Russell Wilson had a crazy week last week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a fantastic start to his career. I think that's going to be a good thing. Josh Allen against Miami. This guy just got his first 300-yard passing game. Always a rushing threat. It's going to be huge. Miles Sanders, healthy, did not play week 1 at all. I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a big game tonight. Godwin, it looked like he had some sort of injury. We'll see what they have updates. He's got a concussion. So, yeah, those can be tricky. Slayton had 2 touchdowns, as I already mentioned. Kelsey is Kelsey. Drake. Spencer's got some good running backs. They just got to score him more than 10 points. That's kind of where we're at. Deshaun Jackson, that'll be an interesting one. Gallup has got a good matchup. That Atlanta Cowboys game is going to be one to watch. There's going to be a lot of points scored, I believe. On the bench, Emmanuel Sanders is an interesting one because Michael Thomas may not play in their game. That he'll be the number 1. Moving on, we have Miller going against Ferg. Matt Ryan got Gurley as well. I see a lot of passes out of the backfield. I see a lot of deep balls for Matt Ryan as well. Deshaun Watson against Baltimore, not the best matchup. That could be another really high-scoring game, though you never know. Dalvin Cook against Indy, I think is a lot better than the matchup suggests. Calvin Ridley can go off. Watkins can go off. Mike Evans is questionable. Let's see what they say about Mike Evans. No, he's got a hamstring injury, but we will see. Robert Woods, my guy Robert Woods. Let's talk about Robert Woods. He had 6 of 8 for 105 and 14 on a rush attempt. I love me some Robert Woods. That guy gets you some points. Yeah, Thomas is currently doubtful. That's unfortunate. That's a weak winner and sometimes a weak loser if you can't play the guy. Marlon Mack on IR. Joe Burrow. You watch this game on Thursday night against the Browns. I think Joe Burrow is going to tear him apart. I hope they do because I hate the Cleveland Browns. All right, the third rivalry game of the week. We have Patrick and Wansky going at it. McCaffrey, Lamar Jackson. That was a 2-headed monster right there. It's impressive. Jonathan Taylor, the rookie. Had about 60-some receiving yards last week, and now he is pushed into that starting role. I can't see him not having a good game. As I mentioned already earlier, Allen Robinson's the start of the week from NFL.com. Derrick Henry's going to have a good week. We'll see how Breeze does without Michael Thomas, but he's still got Kamara. He's got Emmanuel Sanders. He's got weapons. Gronk, Kittle. We'll see if Kittle plays. Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is going to get his, I believe, this week because the Lions are going to have to throw the ball. I don't see anything any different. CeeDee Lamb on the bench is a little interesting, but when you look at, you can't really sit John Connor. I'm not huge on Nick Chubb. I would rather have Kareem Hunt every week than Nick Chubb. Just personal preference, I guess. So look at the standings for right now. We got Justin in first place, Wes in second, Bino third, Miller fourth, myself in fifth, and then it goes by points. Wansky sixth, Corey seventh. We have Dylan eighth, Spencer 9th, and Patrick in 10th. And yes, as I said earlier, sky's the limit. We can only go up from here. I have given the matchup winners of this past week, I've given them an extra ball in the overall number 1 pick lottery that we'll do after the season, of course. Everybody set a lineup. I'm really happy with everybody in the league participating, and I don't care if you score 70 points. I don't care if you score 200. As long as you're trying, you set a lineup. I'm all for it. So today I'm actually going to mess with the odds again, since everybody's doing so well. If we're keeping track at home right now, Bino, Miller, and Eights have a 15% chance to get that first pick overall. Everybody else has got a 7.6. I've got everybody's name in here. So yeah, let's see what happens, guys. Yeah, everybody's got their name in here one time. So I am just doing this because you guys kick ass. Alright, the random pick of the week. Who gets the extra ball in the... Nope. Oh boy. I'm doing it wrong, that's why it's not shutting, guys, I promise. Alright, who's getting the extra ball? And it is Wes. Congrats, Wes. I'll add you to the docket here, so that will be 2 out of 14 chances for Bino, Wes, Miller, and Justin. Yeah, guys, so we do have a special guest, and we have her live via Zoom. Spencer, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
I'm good. All right, so you took a week 1 loss by 16 points. You had 3 players in double figures.
Hey, let me stop you right there real quick, Kevin. You know, there's something that I think as a league we need to address.
Okay.
And that there's one team in this league that to me is just absolutely despicable. And not because they have a terrible roster, you know, not because I don't like the owner, but let me check the calendar. It's 2020, okay? And for us to have a team with the name Deadskins, I mean, come on, man, get a grip. It's 2020. Those days are gone. And so at this point, I think this league needs to decide, are we a league of integrity? Because if so, I demand that the Deadskins change their name to a more appropriate team name, like the Dead Football Team or something of that nature. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but I had to get that one out.
No, that's all right.
It's 2020, okay?
Yeah.
Things are done.
People don't like talking about dead stuff, or any sort of skins, potato skins, red skin potatoes, like sunburns.
Let's not get distracted on jokes and stuff here. I'm here to talk some serious fantasy football. So go ahead with your next question.
Okay, you took a big run on running backs during our draft this year. How do you feel? You're pretty confident in that area?
I'm sorry. I gotta stop here. I just want to say one thing to the fans and everybody in George Washington's Vixens Nation. I'm sorry, extremely sorry. I promise you one thing: a lot of good will come out of this. You will never see any manager in the entire country manage as hard as I will the rest of this season. And you will never see someone push the rest of this team as hard as I will push everybody the rest of the season. And you will never see a fantasy manager play harder than I will the rest of the season. God bless.
All right. Josh Allen was your highest point scorer in week 1. He almost had 30 points for a quarterback. That's pretty good. Do you think he will have more rushing yards than he did last year? Or do you think now with Stephon Diggs and that offense be a little bit more pass happy?
You know, it's funny you say that, Kev. There's something you should know. When I was 10 years old, I put myself on the injured list. I never got off. But I belong out there, okay? With my brother. When we were kids, we used to race our bikes down Cherry Hill every day after school. We raced every day, and he always beat me. But one time, One time I beat him. He ate my dust. And when you think about it for a second, who said you have to be good to play fantasy football? You can play football because you want to. It's fun. You play fantasy football so you can pretend that you got Joe Montana throwing a touchdown pass for your team, or Emmitt Smith going for a long run. And even if all the other teams in this league are better than me, even if they beat me 99 times out of 100, that still leaves one time.
The one time. And last year, I hate to bring up old laundry here. Last year, you started out 0-4. Are you feeling more confident in this year's squad than you were from last year's?
I want you to take a moment, and I want you to look into my eyes, and I want you to put yourself in my heart forever, because forever's about to happen here in the next few weeks. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about Boobie Miles, who is your brother, and he would die to be out there on the fantasy field with us. And I want you to put that in your heart. Kevy, my heart is full. My heart is full.
Okay, full heart guy. All right, so we have changed the format from Rivalry Week, where everybody plays a rival in the same week, 2 rivalry games. It was a lot easier for me to schedule that way. Bino is your week 2 opponent, but she is also your rival. So whoever wins your matchup gets another ball towards getting that number 1 pick next season. What do you have to say about Bino?
Let me tell you something you already know, Kev. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. I don't care how tough you are. It will beat you to your knees, and it will keep you permanently there if you let it. You, me, nobody's going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward, and that's how winning is done.
Okay, well said, well said. Who was the player, before we drafted, who was the player you wanted the most?
Oh, you know what? That's actually a really great question. I'm Spencer Caverly, Boyne City, Michigan. And we're Team George Washington's Fixins, gathered from all across America. And we're going to stick together. You know why?
Why?
Because we are George Washington's Fixins. And Fixins fly together. And when you think we're about to break apart, Fixins fly together. And when the wind blows hard and the sky is black, Fixins fly together. And when the roosters are crowing and the cows are spinning circles in the pasture, oh, well, you know what? Fixins fly together. And when everyone says it can't be done, Fixins fly together.
Okay, I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Who's coming in first place in this league?
Oh, I mean, that's a question we all want the answer to. And can you feel the tension? Because I can feel it down in my plums, getting a nice bluish hue, getting ready to take them down to the farmer's market. I feel like a slice of butter melting on a big old pile of flapjacks. Yeah.
Who's coming in last place in this league?
At this point, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Who is going to have the most fantasy points? An individual player who's going to score the most fantasy points?
Okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Who is going to be the worst? Who does not overperform their draft position?
I'm going to go ahead and take the 5th on that one. Thank you.
Okay. So if you could have anybody's roster, just trade everybody and get their roster, whose roster would you like?
Are we talking about practice?
Not the game.
We're talking about practice. Okay. Next question.
Yes. So if this was real football, whose team would be the best?
I don't know much about real football, but I hear that this dude named Messi's pretty good. So I guess if I were going to play real football, I guess Messi.
That's the truth. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't have a question for anybody in this league. I to. I don't got a question for my boss, my wife, my cats. I don't got any questions for anybody.
Okay.
I can just tell you this, that the George Washington Fixins, we're focused on one thing. And I think that throughout this whole interview, I have shown this whole league, I've shown the whole entire world that I am up to date on my information, and I focus on the X's and O's of fantasy football. And so I feel like today I've answered every single one of these questions with the highest intelligence and the most relevance to each question that you asked. And so I appreciate you having me on this show, and I wish everybody the best of luck throughout the rest of the seasons. The Fixins are coming.
All right. So far, our guest number one has got that fire in his belly. He said, I quote, he can feel it in his plums. Let's see how the stock price of the George Washington Fixins goes throughout the season.
Excuse me. It's Fixins.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Fixins. George Washington's Fixins.
Hey, I'm just sitting here getting interviewed by this doctor.